So today I just want to talk about why I believe um, not even so much why I believe in the Bible, but why I don't believe in atheism. So I would say that the first thing is that, to me, it doesn't make sense to infer non-intelligence from things that look intelligent. And I mean, it's an age-old argument. So, you see a watch, therefore there must be a watchmaker. And so Richard Dawkins comes up with the idea that there's a blind watchmaker. There's nothing rational behind it. It's a watchmaker, but it doesn't have a reason or rhyme. And this non-intelligent process called natural selection makes everything that you see. And there's a lot of real logical, philosophical problems. I don't know if they're scientific at all, but there's the problems I have with that. One of them is, how is it that human beings, out of all the animals in the world, are the only ones that are as evolved as we are? If this is true, that evolution is like survival of the fittest and whatnot, I mean, we've all been given the same earth. How is it that humans can coexist with all these animals that are in the same area, and yet we're smarter, they're not? The theory of evolution, to me, would say that given the same circumstances and given the same environment, you should come out with relatively similar results. I mean, how is it that let's say on a given tree slope, or a given slope of a hill, you've got grass, you got flowers, you got different kinds of plants, you have a tree. Why? Why do you have all these variations in this one area? Wouldn't evolution dictate that only certain kinds of plants would grow in a certain spot under certain conditions, because that's it? It's survival of the fittest. There would be no diversity. So I have a problem with the diversity. It doesn't sit right. And the lack of intelligence on a whole bunch of animal life doesn't sit right with me. How is it that they are not just as intelligent? Speech, creativity, building skyscrapers. Why? And why are monkeys still monkeys and humans still humans? If we evolved from them, there should never have been monkeys. Monkeys shouldn't exist. Because there should just be a progression of evolution, right? So these are questions I have that it's not because I'm naive. It's like I'm thinking this through and saying this doesn't make sense. Design leads to intelligence, and I look at even the cell structure in a human being, and I'm like, it's like a city. So who designed that city? Oh, nobody. Really? Nobody designed it. To me, it's stupid. If you can try and say that all this stuff comes about without any guiding intelligent principle, I would say you're believing in fairy tales. I could turn it right around and say you're the one who's believing in fairy. The modern fairy tale of modern man is that we evolved from unintelligent processes over time. Doesn't make sense. And then another basic one is the fact that I don't see any transition from one kind to another. You don't see a cat kind becoming a dog kind. You don't see a bird kind becoming a mammal kind. You don't see that anywhere in the fossil record. And so if it's supposed to be a scientific thing, wouldn't you see consistency? You would see predictability. You would see verifiability, testability, repeatability. You don't see any of that in the Darwinian view of evolution. And so there's a lot of reasons why I can't go with that. And none of them have to do with the Bible. I believe in the Bible. But my reasons for my skepticism of the skeptics and my skepticism of Darwinian evolution is a purely logical one. You can't get intelligence from non-intelligence. You can't get structure and design from chaos. You can't get these things. And if you want to go with the multiverse, what you're doing is you're just creating a problem for yourself, saying I can't answer in a simple logical conclusion intelligent design. Let me infer an infinite amount of possibilities, and we'll just happen to be one of them. And if your definition of faith is, a belief for which you have no evidence, you're a candidate if you think that way. And I'm a believer in God because I believe I'm intelligent. I believe that things around me are logical and reasonable, and there's a law, and there's principles that govern my reality, and I even have an unseen capacity in me. I have an imagination. It's an invisible spiritual thing. And yet with my imagination, I can take whatever's in here that you can't see, and I can make it something that everybody can see. The camera that I'm looking at right now was once an invisible idea. And look, it's been fleshed into something. Intelligence does this. Non-intelligence doesn't do that. So for me, I'm just putting my logical cues together and saying, hey man, if it looks like design, feels like the design, smells like design, acts like design, the next conclusion is it's design. Something intelligent made it all. And Ravi Zacharias says that no matter how you slice physical reality, there's nothing that has the explanation for its existence in itself. Therefore, you have to look elsewhere. So if it's physical, therefore it has to come from elsewhere, which means the cause has to be spiritual. And the cause has to be uncaused. If time is part of this material world, the cause has to be timeless. If there's finitude within this structure of things in the physical world, whatever cause it has to be infinite. These are all the kind of conclusions you come to, and you say, oh wow, God has to exist then. Because what is the other option, really? The other option is that there's pretend design. And evolution doesn't actually quite cover how it got here. And it just says what happens once life starts. But if it's just a chance that things happen, then it's not sustainable. If things just crash together, what happens? Two things crash, they go apart. How do you have something come together and be sustained for so long? If it's just chance, it won't even sustain itself. So sustainability is a big problem that I have. There's no good grounds for me to see that we came from natural selection. It's funny, you can't even escape intelligence. Selection, what does that infer? Choice. How can you not be intelligent and make a choice? And even survival of the fittest. If there's no guiding principle behind anything, why would you want to survive at all? Who's telling you need to? There's no intelligence that says, hey, you need to survive. So what's the point? Why does life matter at all? Here's the thing, if evolution were real, things just wouldn't care. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no strong, there's no weak, there's just nothing. You just exist and that's it. Okay, whatever. An amoeba wouldn't want to be anything greater. A bird wouldn't want to be anything different. Nothing would want to change. There'd be no reason to change. Survival isn't even a good reason. There'd be nothing to say, I need to survive. For what? What's the point? What's the purpose? There's no reason. I cannot concede that there is no God because there's too much intelligence written across all of reality. And there's unseen things within my reality that prove that things that aren't visible exist. And so I have to believe in God. My logic, my reason, my rationality demands it. And a healthy sense of skepticism says, hey, skepticism can go both ways. So I'm a skeptic of the skeptics. skeptical of their ideas because they don't make any sense. And that's why I'm not an atheist. And I'm definitely not a scientific atheist. Because it doesn't make any scientific sense or logical sense, philosophical sense. You can't convince me otherwise. Atheism is incoherent and illogical. And I think it takes more faith to be an atheist in light of design, in light of everything that actually is. You're basically having to infer something that isn't. And they have just as much faith as they claim that Christians have, or believers in God, theists, because they're like, well, you guys are believing in something you don't see. Well, so do you. You've never seen a monkey change into something else, and yet you believe it. Oh yeah, but you're believing something for which you have no evidence. You do too, because you've never seen any of this happen. It's not testable, it's not repeatable. You believe it with just as much vigor and just as much faith as I do, so it's your religion. It has to be. And so, they might want to argue it, but I can just argue back. If it looks like a cake, it smells like a cake, tastes like a cake, you better believe it's a cake. So if reality looks like it's been designed, feels like it's a design, functions with law and design, guess what? It's designed. It's just as simple as that. You don't have to get complicated. If you try and get complicated, the truth is you're just trying to deny something that's really real. And you look stupider. I mean, to people like me, you look like really not smart at all. And that's just the reality of it. Now, with that said, I don't believe in Darwinian evolution. I am a very biblical person. I believe in God, and I believe that the Bible is true. And I believe that what it writes about is legit, and that I take it as an authority that is applicable to me and to others. So with that said, am I a 6-day creationist? No, I'm not. But that's because I actually believe in the Bible, and it doesn't say that God created the whole of the heavens and the earth in 6 days. It doesn't say that. It says the heavens and the earth were present before God even said, let there be light. So as far as we know, the earth is infinitely old. It had a beginning. We don't know when. And there was no time frame to that. The first mention of day in the Bible isn't even a 24-hour period. It's light. It's the concept of light. And it says that God made the heavens and the earth, and it was formless and void. Water was over the surface of the dark, and all this was before God said, let there be light. And then he called light into existence. And then he called land up. And then he called water to be filled with animals, etc., 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 1 through 6. Well, at the end of that account, it says, these are the generations of the heavens and the earth in the day that God created them. Okay, so what is it? Is it 1 day? Is it 6 days? Is it generations? What is it? It's poetic. The fact of creation happened. God did it. But it's poetic. So it's not to be taken literally in that sense. And it's because I love the Word of God, I'm taking it seriously that I say that. It's not because I distrust it. It authoritatively says God created all this stuff for a reason, for his pleasure, for his purpose, and he designed it. It has rhyme and reason and value. And therefore we're accountable because it's been made, it has a king, and we're accountable to that king. So I'm not a 6-day creationist. So what am I then? Well, it is written that God created it. It is written that God says, let the seas bring forth living creatures. It is written, let earth bring forth life. It says God created things each according to its kind. So I believe that we are made from the dust of the earth. I believe that each thing is made according to its kind. But do I believe in a sort of an adaptation kind of thing over many years? It's possible. Well, definitely with the animal life. Absolutely with animal life. Human beings, I don't know what I believe yet. Do I think God just grabbed a whole bunch of dirt, formed a man, and went, poof, breathe? You know what? Because God is who he is. Very possible, and I won't deny it. But what if God just made this creature according to its kind? from the dust of the earth. What if that was where this whole evolution idea comes from? But it's not like the cat evolved into a dog. It's no, a cat was always a cat. It just grew into different kinds of cats. Humans were always humans. You know, monkeys were always monkeys. So that's where I would go with it. And I believe the earth is very old. I believe human beings are young on the earth because there's hints in scripture where it says long before human beings were ever on the earth. What do you mean? That you did in 6 days. So if you did in 6 days, there wasn't a long period of time before humans got on. But it doesn't say that. It says long before. Long before. Okay, well, it just shows to me that the earth is old. People are not that old on this planet. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. I'm gonna pause this right now.